Thanks for staying with us. A fire erupted at Afriland Towers, Broad Street, Lagos Island, after an electrical inverter reportedly exploded when power was restored. Panic followed as some trapped occupants leapt from upper floors while emergency crews worked to contain the blaze and treat victims. The incident has sparked debate. While responders were praised for quick action, critics says it highlights poor safety standards, weak building compliance, and flaws in Lagos power infrastructure. What are your thoughts on this? You can join the conversation on 02016352013 or 09024163440 or tweet us at TVC using the hashtag YourviewTVC. So we saw the viral videos yesterday when the fire was ongoing and many people in the buildings were trying to jump down. I think there was a particular video we saw that somebody jumped without anything. Ladders. He was the first to jump down, and people were screaming whether he died and all of that. But there's a report in the papers today. They said 4 yet to be identified persons are currently battling their lives after fire gutted a 6-story building at the Afriland Tower, which houses a branch of the United Bank for Africa and other companies on Broad Street in Lagos Island, Lagos. It says that those people are currently in the hospital, battling for their lives. We are not sure, but we're hoping that they survive. And many people are coming out to say that it took time for the fire responders, first responders to arrive there, because we saw Nigerians trying to help them. Some were throwing down the foams from the buildings and trying to land safely on the foams. It was really, really a painful, sad story to see that in 2025, in a city like Lagos, we're still saying almost the same thing from time to time. So, ladies, what are your thoughts on this?
But honestly, when I first saw the video, the images that hit me were very scary. This is a nightmare. I saw the video of a man who looked unconscious. I don't know if it's the man that you speak of who had jumped, but he was on a flat surface, but still on a higher level. He was unconscious. And I think the debate or the struggle was trying to figure out how to get him to the ground floor, because he was still on a high. He was not at the top floor, he was at the middle floor on a flat surface, but he was unconscious. So how do you now get him in that unconscious state to the ground floor so that you can get help? And this is something that we also need to speak about when there's an emergency and people are unconscious. First off, do people around, do staff have the requisite knowledge about what to do, the very first things to do when somebody is unconscious? How do you move them? What do you do to administer that first aid response and care? Because there's a way you can move somebody who is unconscious. You might be aggravating the issue or the problem. And then that video about the people who were trying to get, there are some ladies who were at the very top floor, no ladder had gotten to them, and you could see the fear in their eyes, because we don't know what's going on in the building. We heard that smoke had engulfed all the floors. There was a fire outbreak in the inverter room in the basement, but these ladies were high above ground, really high above ground. No ladders had been secured for them, so you could see them trying to contemplate exit. The people on the other floor, some of the men had gotten ladders, so they were coming down with the ladders. But the ones on the higher floors, I really, really do not know to what extent and how robust our emergency systems are. They said that the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service got there pretty much on time. But if people are thinking and contemplating jumping off on their own, then that says to you, how well in time did they get there? Don't trust. Because if in the very first quick minutes of this happening, there was a pathway for rescue, people would not arbitrarily want to endanger their lives by finding ways to escape on their own. And in places like this where it's high traffic areas, central business districts, some of these buildings are really old. It calls into question facility management. It calls into question health and safety initiatives, drills. How often do we have a body that goes to check, okay, if a building is 50 years of age and above, how often do we need to go and inspect and check that there are fire extinguishers, the electrical systems are all you know, on par? How often do we do upgrades? Because buildings are old and everything encased in those buildings too will fall into a state of disrepair. These are the issues that we need to be tackling. And for organizations like this, when there's a fire outbreak, sometimes you can't help it. But do we follow drill? Do we do fire drills every now and then so that everybody knows this is the muster point? But in cases like this too, then again, the emergency exits might, or there might be no pathway really. So what do you do at this point?
You don't talk everything.
You have talked everything.
Yeah, so
for me, a fire accident is more than just an accident. It's a stress test for every building. And I think Lagos State, Lagos Island should now be an emergency case on its own for every governor coming in, because you see, movement in between those buildings is always tight. I know the governor, I must attest to it, has tried to sanitize. So you know those days when we used to shop and you'll be walking and there's no place to pass. Yes. All of that has been cleared. So we know. But we saw yesterday, and what I saw broke my heart to the extent that there were agberos on that first floor. Boys telling people to jump in such a building. And it was only men who were trying. So I'm wondering, if you're not wearing a trouser
how do you
to
jump?
walk, what would you do?
Would you care at that point?
So no, you would care. Because is that not two deaths now? You're jumping between two very dangerous situations. So
no, I'm saying, would you care how you're dressed at that point?
How you want to take jump now? Where the strength? You know, you'd be worried. So what I saw broke my heart, and I kept thinking, because I know the fire service response team in Lagos has steadily been improved. Steadily, we had them on the show when they had the first GM came here. We've talked to the rescue GM as well. We've seen the system, you know, of monitoring and all of that. We've seen it, and I don't know how it wasn't effective. You know, what we ought to see when the pictures were coming from this fire incident was how effective it has continued to be.
Yeah,
we couldn't see that. What I saw, that man who was being asked to jump, and he went back and he got something and he jumped, and another side of the building, I just felt, where was the rescue team? What were they doing, and how did they show up? Now, you also mentioned facility management of this building. What's the name of the
Afriland
Tower.
Yeah.
You know, how often do they do that facility check? Did they install any form of fire
breaker? Because he said it was when the power was restored.
Yes, that's
that the inverter
so fire breakers, fire extinguishers, drills. Do you even have a team? Most, in fact, I cannot just say all of our public facilities, private and companies, do not have fire rescue teams. The only places you see them are these oil companies. They are the ones who have their own stationed fire extinguishers, even their own fire trucks. Water trucks, and maybe the military. But most of them, these banks, these buildings, you don't see them, and it's sad because, you know, people do business there every day, and we're waiting.
Volumes.
Yes, and you prevent accidents by having these things, you know, just planning ahead. But they don't have, because what we saw yesterday, those people within, if they knew how to operate it, if there was a team within, something would have been done, but nothing could be done. And the fire was already threatening them, and it was safer to jump. So they were considering that option, and that was totally heartbreaking for me. This stress test didn't work. Who blocked roads? Why did the truck go there? Can the trucks not extend to the height of that building enough to rescue people? Because, you know, these trucks have this extension that, you know, that goes up and can help people. And, you know, firefighters can also stay there and target with fire water, shoot at the source of the fire from that height. All of those drills were not seen. I'm waiting to hear the report of how many people were injured this morning. I expect that should be out this morning. I saw another gory picture. I hope it's not from Lagos State. I hope that was a lie. Online, of another building that was on fire. They said on the same Lagos Island. And in the video, the building detached from the structure and fell, floors falling down. This morning when I saw that, I was like, he was there, written that it was also on the marina, but I'm praying sincerely that it was a fake video. Because that shows that for hours, there was really no response. When buildings, you know, suffer fire for a while, for a long time, the buildings cave in. And so that was what I saw in that video. I hope, you know, that the governor is on top of this. He has to be. And if this happened under his watch in Lagos State, they should investigate the cause, investigate the rescue team, the response
how long
unit
it took them to
and
respond.
how long it took them. Somebody should be answering questions.
Yes,
They used to do reports. Even those days, under the Federal Fire Service, they used to do report after every fire rescue
outbreak,
that they've done. Yeah.
Okay, Ramatu.
Okay, so yeah, so when I saw that story, first of all, the first thing that came to my mind, I always say this, that we have very intelligent civil structural engineers in Nigeria. I just wonder why we that kind of a thing still happens in this, where other countries, they are there building, they are even going higher, almost getting to the sky. And we still cannot maintain just how many floors of building and all. So first of all, when I saw that video, the first thing is, if we have that kind of building, what are the things in place? First of all, before we start even talking about the government coming to rescue and everything, what are we doing in that building that we have not even thought of during emergencies, things like this, when they happen? What do we do? What are we doing? How proactive are we when such things happen? Number one, I realized that we lack that, that means most of the workers on that building, they have not trained their staff on how to manage in case of things like this, emergencies like this. Just as small as our estate. My son knows how to put out fire. We always have this drill that comes every year. They come, they teach us on how to put, when fire starts in the house or anything, how to put it off. This is what to do. This is how to use the fire extinguisher and all. That means the fire extinguishers in those buildings are not working. And the staff do not even know how to use it. So you must train your staff. You must train your staff on how to use these things. Because when you go to all these big buildings, you realize that the fire extinguisher, you see them on the wall. You see them on the wall. But that means most of your staff do not know how to use it. Most are expired. I think it's time for us to start looking at how we can be, teaching our staff on emergencies like this so that they will also take part before the external ones come in. And we all know that there are so many factors that will stop the external ones from coming, like the traffic, and then, the road is not wide enough, and everything. And that particular marina, the houses there, they are old houses. The structures are no longer strong, and you find out that whenever we go to shop there, in fact, the government needs to look at where there are plenty people, because in that market, every single day, there are more than 1 million people in that market. Passing through. So you must make sure that that place is safe for people to be able to shop and be able to move around. You find out, like what Nima said, when you go shopping, the corners, they are still there, not totally eradicated. They are still there. So that fire that you saw, that you're saying you hope it's true now because it's a video. It's happened upstairs, and then the whole video, the whole building came down. It was fire that was, and even businesses do not have, small businesses, shops, they don't even have fire extinguishers
to even help their own case.
So they will just sit down, somebody just put his hand on his head, when you allow, see his goods. And we don't even have insurance, whatever. So the guy is going to start from the beginning all over again. So this is really worrisome. Something needs to be done.
We'll take a short break here. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Yourview will be right back.
Welcome back. We're still discussing the fire outbreak, and there's a statement that was released by Honorable Prince Taiwo Ajibade Onyekon, Executive Chairman, Lagos Island Local Government, and I want to take it. It says, I personally led a delegation of key officials, the Lagos Island Local Government engineer, the head of medical services, and our dedicated sanitation workers to the scene of the fire outbreak at Afriland Towers, Broad Street, where we joined forces with emergency rescue team. And he said something here. He says, the unfortunate occurrence is yet another reminder of the need for strict adherence to safety standards in high-rise installations, as well as continued investment in proactive disaster management systems. As the Executive Chairman of Lagos Island Local Government, I commend the bravery of our first responders and assure our people that we remain steadfast in protecting lives, safeguarding property, and restoring calm in the face of emergencies. Investigations are ongoing, and we will continue to put measures in place to prevent a reoccurrence of such incidents. But this is 2025, and like you ladies have rightly said, this isn't the time that we're still going to be having conversations like we're just starting the country anew. Those buildings are very tight, and because they are very tight, if, for instance, Lagos State is giving 1 truck per local government to different local governments, fire service truck, they should dedicate more than 1, 2, 3 to that sort of area because of the the volume of activities and people that pass through there. That's one. Secondly, the fire service should also be stationed somewhere very close in every highbrow area where there are a lot of activities going on. You see that you are supposed to have fire service stationed there so that it's easy access. Once anything happens, we are moving. Two, somebody also talked about training. It's not just enough to set up buildings, have good infrastructure, but people need to be trained regularly. I remember when I was a classroom teacher, from time to time, an alarm would just sound. You're supposed to leave everything. That's a train. It's a drill.
And then you do what you have rehearsed to do.
Thank you. You're supposed to leave everything that you have. If you're teaching, if you have your laptop, your phone, everything, leave it, and then start filing out. And we were taught, even the nursery school children were taught on how to file out when there's a fire outbreak. You will lie on the floor and you move like that gradually. But I've noticed something about us as a people. We're very emotional. And when crisis happens like that, sometimes we suspend our logical thinking and we start shouting. So even if you've been trained over and over, it takes consistent training for you to master that this is not the time to put my hand on the head and start shouting, but it's time to move out immediately, or it's time to find the fire extinguisher and start doing something. But are we in that place where we can calm down and do what is necessary? Do you think we've gotten to that point?
I want to make a case
for
the Lagos State, for instance. As you mentioned, training. I know for a fact that when you have a fire service, they parade every morning. They come out for their training and their drills. But whatever might have happened, I believe there's a human factor
to it.
So let the governor investigate why the response was not swift. That's on one side. Number two is that if you check in most of our houses, for instance, I don't know about you, but my house, the inverter is outside at the entrance, so that the technician that will come and fix it. So if an inverter caused this fire, for instance, it's the entrance that was blocked. I don't know whether you're following.
Yeah, I understand.
Nobody in that building will run into the fire.
Yes, true.
So what happens to the exit?
The other,
there has to be two exits, emergency exit of the building. In our station here, we know,
exit.
Everything has been, So what happens to the emergency exit? If that fire was maybe at a particular place in that building and nobody could go to that place, what alternative did they have in that building for the people who owns that building? For the bank who ran business in the building, to what extent did they provide safety for their staff? Because now we're going to call government, but if somebody go and check now, the extinguisher in that building had expired. People don't know there's a shelf life to extinguishers. These are chemicals that over time their efficacy just fades off with time. So there's a shelf life, and when it's expired, you then change it. Now road safety, they teach us for our car. They don't care. Madam is fine. And then they show us the one for our car. But the ones
in
for
building,
our buildings, nobody checks it. We used to have a fire blanket in my house as a child, and it was over the cooker. We had two over the cooker, one over the freezer. Do you know that when fire happened, my mom, we had the fire, it was pre-Ramadan. And so my mother was like, let me get up and just make the food so that by the time they are calling prayer in the morning, everybody will be ready to eat. She put the boiling bucket, those days of boiling ring, over the freezer, and they put the boiling ring. And then she slept. All of us knocked off and woke up to our freezer burning. And so fire blanket is not a fire blanket thing. The fire extinguisher at home in the firefighter's house was expired. Yes. It was my mother's knowledge of what chemicals should mix that she did in one bucket and then poured over it.
Extinguished it.
And then the first thing is to respond by cutting off power. There was lights, and so she cut off power first, and then she started screaming, and all of us then came in. But I remember the one that happened in our new house when we moved to a new house. This one was when I was much younger in Iba Estate then. The one in the new house, it was me. It was over the phone. This table phone. There was this table phone provider back then I used to come to the marina to buy the phone, and then they would connect us at home. We could use the telepoint or something. We put the phone there, and the fire started from the wires of that phone. My mother while she was trying to cut off power, because we left power outside now. My mom fell, passed out on the floor. I responded by finally cutting it off. Then did the mixture to put off the fire within the house. My sister, one of us, did not wake up till we were done with all the chaos that happened that night. So what are the measures that these people put in
place?
How conscious are Nigerians of possibility of fire happening in their homes? So those of us who buy plastic toys, I was talking when we took the story on fire the last time about my best friend's house, and he had so many toys, cars, bikes, everything made of plastics. Fire started from that room. Dangerous. Everything melted.
You just reminded me of this thing, boiling ring and the days of hot plates. I remember during university days, we used to use it in school. We've had serious incidences like that happened. Fire gutted out and we were able to, those days, they will now put water, they'll put detergent in water and we'll just mix it and then we'll put out the fire. That's how we put off the fire whenever something like that happens. But it happened a lot of times. At the end of the day, they now banned it. They say don't bring in hot plates and no boiling ring. And that was how it stopped. That was how it ended.
Even in homes now, you're not supposed to use it.
So I'm going to say, in a country that we know that flood, fire, and building collapsing, we know that these are our major issues right now because it's happening a lot of times. A lot of buildings have collapsed in the past, we've seen, and fire has been gotten out of, especially that Balogun market. What are the measures? What are the things that we're supposed to do? First of all, each shop, like I mentioned earlier, must have they must have their fire extinguishers. Now, it's not everybody that knows how to use it.
They should learn how to use it.
You must be trained. You must know how to use it. And even they themselves, they must know how to make sure that those kind of things do not happen.
Connections.
Do you know that there was a time when we were staying in Bagada, we woke up and water was in the house. Flooded. My husband just got down and just put his legs inside water, boom. In fact, the water was much. But the first thing, because my husband, training in their place of work and everything, the first thing he did was to go and put off power. So you can imagine if the power was on.
A naked wire on the floor.
Naked wire, and that's how we will have gotten electrocuted. And another thing again, that one, once they come and rescue you, they put you on the floor, there's how you should react to such. That one too are things that we all need to learn. You just need to learn all these emergency
things. We'll take a short
things.
break now. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Chika is waiting to offload. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.